Okay, I'm going to call the Brant County Planning Committee meeting to order and note that Councillor Oakley is zoomed in. I believe Councillor Miller is intending to zoom in. I don't see him on the screen, but he may appear suddenly. I will I will ask Lucas and Councillor Miller if I don't notice you, if you have a question or anything, don't dismay. I will rely on the committee colleagues to draw your hands to my attention. It's hard to see everybody at the same time. Other than that, I believe everyone is in attendance here that is not zoomed in. So that deals with the attendance. There's just a little bit of a housekeeping matter that I want to deal with right at the start. There was a little bit of miscommunication and perhaps a confusion with regard to a property on Cockshut Road, 102 Cockshut Road. Is there anyone in the audience that is attending with the expectation that 102 Cockshut Road is going to be before us? Okay, I see none, so the clerk's office has cleared that up, and nothing sinister. It was just something that went out, and we expected perhaps some people would be in attendance for that issue. So I'll leave that for the proper time to come forward. The agenda has been circulated. Would someone move that the agenda be approved? Councillor Bell and Councillor Pierce. Are there any additions to the agenda? Any deletions? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the agenda? That is carried unanimously. There is a provision for the declaration of pecuniary interest, and if you have an interest, please draw it to my attention at the time, and the record will show that you have declared. There are no delegations, petitions, or presentations listed, so we'll go to the adoption of the minutes of the previous meeting. Would someone feel comfortable moving them for adoption? Councillor Coleman, seconded by Councillor Kyle. Are there any errors or omissions? Are there any questions? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. The minutes are adopted. There are no items listed as business arising from the minutes on the agenda. Does anyone on the committee have an issue? Seeing none, we'll move to the public hearings. Just before we begin that, we all know around the committee table that this is the inaugural new form of the committee meeting, and I'm not going to go through the changes. I think as we go through, the changes will be obvious. The big change is that at the planning committee level, the public hearings will be conducted for information, to receive information for the public, and any deliberations on the applications will occur at a council meeting subsequent to the public hearing that we'll be dealing with tonight. And I'm sure there will be confusion as we move on into future meetings, but once we get through the cycle a few times, it will become routine. And this is the first time we're going through the cycle. Nothing really changes other than the role of the planning committee at the public hearing level. We are just to receive information. So I believe, and Councillor Miller has joined us. Welcome, Councillor Miller. Can you hear us? He's giving me the thumbs up. So I will move right into the public hearings, and we have one public hearing to conduct this evening, and that's a public hearing regarding an application from 836 Watts Pond Road. And I will declare the public hearing now open. and ask the planner to come forward and present the application to the committee and members of the public.
Good evening, Council and members of the public. This is a major zoning bylaw amendment for lands located at 836 Watts Pond Road from Carmilla Agro, agent on behalf of the owner, Watts Pond Development Corporation, within the geographic township of South Dumfries. This is to be received for information purposes only. The subject lands are located south of Watts Pond Road and on the west side of Wisley Avenue. They are rectangular in shape and have an approximate area of 5.2 hectares and an approximate frontage of 20 meters along the west side of Wisley Avenue. These subject lands are currently vacant. The applicant is proposing to rezone a portion of the subject lands from residential singles R1 to residential singles and semis with site-specific provision 18, so R2-18. The R2-18 zone currently exists today, and this rezoning is required in order to facilitate a lot line adjustment between Block 2, as identified on the slide there, to be merged with Block 107 as part of Plan 2M1947. The site-specific, the R2-18 zone is existing and has site specifics related to lot area, lot frontage, street setback, interior side yard setback, and lot coverage. The subject lands are currently designated urban residential, natural heritage, and are partly located within a wellhead protection area. The lands subject to the rezoning are located outside of the natural heritage designation. The subject lands are currently zoned as residential singles and residential multiple low density with site-specific provision 18, so R1 and RM1-18 within the County of Brant zoning bylaw. Next steps, a report and formal recommendation from staff to the Planning and Development Committee, followed by a committee decision to be adopted by Council. Thank you and happy to answer any questions.
Committee members, do you have any questions to the planner with regard to the application? Councillor Howes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to staff. So I just wanted to make sure that I understand this a little bit better, because in case anybody calls and asks, it was already zoned residential with the R1. I guess and I understand that the change is to facilitate going from single homes to semis. But could you clarify the part that you were saying right towards the end there about where they already have the opportunity to do other housing types? And I'm seeing all of this as a potential benefit towards offering different housing types within this development, which is good for our community. But I wanted to understand why they had to make the change.
Absolutely, through the chair. So the purpose of the rezoning, so it's a little bit complicated, and I've done my best to show it here on the slide. So there's beside 836 Watts Pond, there's already a registered subdivision. And so the subdivision that's beside it, so it's identified as in the blue hatching. So in order for Block 2 in the pink to be merged with that parcel, it has to be the same zone. And so the parcel that it's going to be merged with is currently zoned R2-18, and this parcel that is subject to the rezoning needs to change from R1 to R2-18 to ensure that the land use is the same and the permitted uses are the same. Yeah.
Thank you. That I get it now. So
wonderful.
Councillor Bell, another question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Sharon. Simple question: why is this a major zoning bylaw amendment? It seems pretty minor to me.
Through the chair, the reason why it's classified as a major zoning bylaw amendment is because with the zone change, where we will be permitting additional uses, and that constitutes a major zoning bylaw amendment.
Any other questions? Seeing none from the committee, I believe the applicant is zoomed in, or maybe not. This applicant is zooming in from the crowd. And if you can just identify yourself and you can speak to your application.
I miss the artifacts, however, and the display cases that you used to have. I like what you've done with the color of the room, but I do miss those. Having said that, I'm here on behalf of Watts Pond Development Corporation, and what we have here are two subdivisions side by side who are basically exchanging blocks of land. So the zoning has to match the adjacent subdivision's zoning. When you have two remnant parcels of land, they cannot be developed independently. They have to be merged with the adjacent developments. And I guess next month you'll have the Brookfield portion of the rezoning application on your agenda. It's unfortunate that they both weren't able to be at the same meeting because obviously Watts Pond is giving a parcel to Brookfield, Brookfield is giving a parcel to Watts Pond. The zoning is going to ultimately match. So when we refer to this as a major zoning application, I really see it as a technical zoning application to implement basically two pieces of a jigsaw puzzle coming together that will allow new housing and finish the streets. The last thing we want is a vacant property in the middle of a subdivision. They tend to become dumping grounds for grass clippings and yard waste and things of that nature. So this will complete the development ultimately between Brookfield and Watts Pond. And as I said, it's more or less just a technical rezoning. And we look forward to having the staff report and recommendation, hopefully before you next month, together with the Brookfield application so that you see the total picture. Other than that, I'm here to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Okay, let's see if there are any questions. Committee members, do you have any questions to the applicant? I see none. It seems to be fairly straightforward.
Thank you, sir.
As I look out into the audience, I see a whole raft of staff people, but I don't see anyone from the public. But I could be wrong. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to comment on this application? And I'm now going to look at the screen. No one has registered. Is there anyone on my screen that wishes to make comment? And I see none. So I will move on to the final portion of the public hearing, and that is if there's anything that staff wishes to conclude before I adjourn the public hearing. Okay, just one minor correction. I believe the planner erroneously said that this would be going to the next planning committee meeting. It's actually going to be going to the council meeting for deliberation and final approvals. So I will declare the public hearing concluded and ask the committee how they wish to deal with the information. Councillor Pierce.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
And seconded by Councillor Howes. And that resolution is that the information be received and be consolidated with additional information and presented as a staff in the staff report going to council a month from today. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. And that deals with the public hearings. And we can move on to the consent items, which are few and far between, it seems. As a matter of fact, there are none. There is one staff report with a recommendation attached, and this is regarding the street naming opportunity. Someone wish to make that motion, put it on the floor? Councillor Howes and Mayor Bailey. Any questions? The report is fairly straightforward. I'll call the question then. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried unanimously again. The Agricultural Committee met, and there's a report from the Agricultural Advisory Committee with the minutes and the report. Someone move that the Agricultural Committee minutes and report be received. Councillor Kyle, who's on the committee, by the way, seconded by Councillor Coleman, who's also on the committee. Are there any questions to the report? Do the members of the committee have anything they wish to, before I call the question? Okay, then I'll ask committee how they wish to do with it. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried as well, so the report is received. There are no communications. Under other business, I'm going to add something here that I'm going to add in all of the planning committee meetings, and that's if there's any member of staff wish to have anything for the benefit of the committee. And I believe our chief planning official does have something. Matt.
Thanks very much. And through the chair, I just wanted to take an opportunity just to update the committee with how things are going in development planning. And I just wanted to let you know that things are very busy. We've implemented our new development process in terms of taking in applications, having most of our applications go through our pre-consultation process, reviewing for a complete application, and then once we have complete application, bringing it to this committee and then ultimately to council. That's been going very well. We've been inundated with applications, and as we expected, those applications are stalling a little bit through that process and deeming them complete. We knew that would happen. A lot of the work is now being done at the front end where we expected it to be. And then once those applications have been deemed complete, they will move very quickly through the latter part, which is bringing it to committee and council. So we have probably somewhere in the area of 20 to 25 applications right now that are currently in the hopper that we're working through and trying to get them to be a complete status. While we have somewhere in the area of 50 applications that we've taken through pre-consultation and have yet to receive. What we're observing right now is the industry as a whole has a bit of a gap in staffing resources, and I think that's causing some delay in having applications go from pre-consultation to application submission. And what we're finding is that's around a 5 to 6 month gap between it going from pre-con to application submission. So just wanted to update the committee and let them know that things are going well, things are very busy, and just to expect more applications in the future. We have a little bit of a lull this meeting and perhaps next, but looking forward to having more numbers in July and in the fall.
Any questions on Matt's report? Councillor Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Matt. So just correct me if I'm wrong here. So you spoke of the 2025 applications that are being put through to complete status. Now I just want to confirm I'll call it the clock doesn't start until the application is deemed as complete, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It would be, the clock would start after we've deemed it complete and from when that application would have been submitted. So we are taking the full 30 days, as the Planning Act allows us, to review an application for completeness. And if it is complete, then the clock would start when the application is submitted. And if it's not complete, well, then the clock restarts after their next submission.
Sorry, just a point of clarification. So you say that the clock will start when it's submitted as a complete application.
That's correct. Okay. That's right.
Right. So this work that we're doing up front is a benefit to all then. Is that a fair statement?
I think that's a fair statement. And I think it's going very well. From discussions with other rural municipalities, other rural directors, this is something everybody's implementing, and it's it's a process where everybody's starting to notice the same kind of thing happen. A bit of a build up now and review and having to sort of do that back and forth prior to the application being deemed complete. And then once it's deemed complete, then we're going to start seeing our numbers start moving quite quickly again. But we're still in the process. We thought it might have been a month or two, but it looks like it's 4 to 5 months kind of a lag time. But I think that was the reality of what we were dealing with in terms of timelines before, and I think it's the same timelines we're applying to things, but we're just seeing sort of a lot of that work being done on the front end where we expected it to be.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions with what Matt has presented? Mayor Bailey?
Through you, Mr. Chair, are you still able to review site plans for accessibility and ramps and parking? Is that still with you, or is that one of the things the province took away?
Yep. No, through the chair, that is something that we still review. That'll be something as part of that 30-day review period that we take for all of our applications. So applications for zoning bylaw amendments or official plans, particularly with site plans. Site plans where we may have some concerns about accessibility, those will be circulated to our accessibility committee. And the format of that circulation, I think we're going to work on with that committee and all of our committees for that matter in the future.
Thank you.
Any final questions? Does our general manager of planning, I didn't even finish the question. just a heads up, in subsequent meetings, that is going to be under other business, the first topic that I asked for is if there's anything that staff wishes to present to the committee. So, no, she's nodding now, so that worked. There's nothing in camera, and our next meeting will be on June 13th here, and we went through the first meeting of the new format, and I'm happy to turn the chair over to the mayor for the council meeting.